Fastest 30 minutes in all sports. Ultimate Browns. Quincy carries in the building when we breaking it down. Going over the Cowboys versus Browns game matchups. Let's get to the X factors. Let's get to this game plan.
The perfect amount of time we should just call this show is, when you come up to somebody, you supposed to meet up with somebody, you say, I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
The difference between the time that you say you pulling up to when you actually show up, that's the length of this show.
Back in the day, our folks would have called it CPT time.
Yeah. If you ever wonder what that person is doing when they say, "Oh yeah, about to pull up," and it's been 30 minutes, you don't see the sitcom almost done with your second episode of the sitcom. Just understand they listening to us. We are the time gap here. That is what happens here.
Hey man, you got enough time to brush your hair, put a wave cap on. Like you might change your shirt. You're like, I'm on my way.
Somebody texts me, I'm pulling up. I'm about to jump in the shower. Like, okay, cool.
I'm gonna jump in the shower. And they be saying it slow too. Man, I'm about to pull up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm already on
now,
my way.
Now, if they call you and say pulling up, that's different, right?
Yeah,
now, you can't abuse that. That'd be 5 minutes away.
That
but
means
the text about to pull up, unless you got their location, you got 35.
Right.
Like I'm telling you.
Or if it's a girl, if it is a girl and they say they're about to pull up, they are at the stop sign. They are like, you ain't got time to do nothing because they will be like, I'm pulling. My wife say, I'm pulling up now. She's in the driveway already. It's just that.
That is the distinction, right? We are talking about two different worlds. Like, where it's like, okay, if it's somebody mama telling you that, you better be ready.
You better be ready. Get your shoes on.
Yeah, don't play. She ain't got time, dog. You better be ready. Shoot, be out there in the driveway when she pull up.
Yeah, that's what we got to do, man. Listen, the Cowboys about to pull up. When they pull up, it'll be Sunday coming up. When you look at this matchup, it's really weird because when you start to get good, you start to look at matchups a little differently, right? Yeah. There's nothing on the schedule that I see for the Cleveland Browns where it's like, oh, that's an automatic win or automatic L. It's just different the way you look at the games. And I've always tried to tell people that the way you view the Browns and the way you watch the games has to also evolve while the team is getting better. I think there's way too many people in our industry that do a disservice to what we are supposed to be doing, and that is supposed to be bringing our audience along to give a window to say, hey, this is no longer a 1-15, 0-16 where we're trying to find moral stories or trying to figure out Hail Mary wins. We're at a point where every single game on the schedule is a matchup. Every single game on the schedule is winnable. And it's just about how you go about breaking down and viewing it. And I think sometimes people, we haven't updated our Microsoft systems up here to understand this is a new day.
We ain't got that software update. It's difficult to gauge, right? Because on one hand, the Browns are much better than they were in 2017. It's obvious that they have made that improvement. The one area I would say on why you're going to have a lot of people still being a little hesitant, especially the older, more stubborn fans who are a little bit more reluctant to kind of relax off this because they've seen a lot, is the success is there, but it hasn't really been codified yet because they haven't had that undeniable season, right? Like that's why what Detroit did last year was so important because that was undeniable what they were able to achieve last year.
Or bell to bell.
Yeah, even Cincinnati. There's a reason why nobody's about to really be like Cincinnati's going to go back to 7 wins or something like that, even though the press around them has been bad this offseason. And I think they will be a good team because they've had that undeniable run of 2 conference championship games and a Super Bowl appearance. And then obviously, if you win a Super Bowl, you win 2 of them like Pat has, you become undeniable in a completely different way. The Browns need to codify their success. They've had good success. They've had fun success. They've had the best success we've seen in the expansion era, no doubt. But we talk about this on this show, and I talked about this on my show. They're out of the since 99 era, which means you're not going to be judged on that same bar anymore. You're going to be judged on the same bar that everybody else gets judged around the league. And getting to the playoffs a couple of times and going 11-6 is not undeniable success for people, for regular teams, right? That's not going to just codify a new organization, a new way of doing things forever. So if you're the Browns, this is your opportunity to codify and make this long-term success. Make the Andrew Berry era one that, instead of being contract to contract, is undeniable. Like, it's just going to exist as long as Andrew Berry wants to do it. The same with Kevin Stefanski, right?
But is it possible to have undeniable when you have the quarterback you have? It goes back to the first segment. It's a little more difficult to have undeniable because of the guy who's at the helm. There's always going to be some detractors about it. So I think it's a weird space a little bit.
Well, the thing is, they're going to be detractors about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But they're not really going to it hasn't really translated to being detractors about Kevin Stefanski nationally or Andrew Berry. So if Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski do it, they don't like Deshaun Watson so much, quite frankly, that they're going to get more credit than they probably would if there were a quarterback there that they like, if they have that undeniable success, because some people are still going to view it in the lens of, look what they're doing with that failure of a quarterback.
Right.
Even if the quarterback isn't a failure. So I think that they'll be fine. They're not going to really be touched by that because they kind of benefit reputation-wise from the lack of love that Deshaun Watson has out there in the national media and from the lack of will for people to give him credit about stuff, especially on the football field. So I think they'll be fine there. And undeniable success is undeniable. So you get to the conference championship game, they ain't got to love Deshaun Watson. We don't love every quarterback that's played in the conference championship game, but we do respect every coach that's gotten there, right? Like Mike Zimmer, people wanted the Browns to hire Mike Zimmer so long because he got to the conference championship game with the Minnesota Vikings, right? Like, that does codify you as an organization, as a team. Like, all of those things do become more important when you have that level of success. And I think that's what the Browns really got to do this year. I mean, look at Buffalo, right? Like, they have yet to codify that success in a way. And even if you get to the conference championship game, it's worth noting, you can't be embarrassing in that game. You gotta you gotta feel like you could have won it and could have gone to the Super Bowl to codify that success. So that's, I think, the difference there is they need to codify their success. And I think once they do that, you'll see a shift from what the normie opinion is of the Cleveland Browns and the organization from a national standpoint, and even from local people who are a bit more hardened by what's happened to this team since '99. They will start to be like, okay, they got to a conference championship game. We cannot let this go, because we still don't let Marty Schottenheimer go.
Man, so let that man rest. Like, they still be talking about
like Bernie Kosar. Think about the legacy that Bernie Kosar has had, and what codified his success was 2 conference championship appearances in 2 very close games. So these are the things that make it so that you're going to have legends of this era for the next 20, 30 years that people are going to grow up on. And that's what they need to do, and that's what this season is about.
Really quickly, X factors. Give me somebody who in this game could ultimately change one way or another, good or bad, for the Cleveland Browns, that can say, wow, that play right there really changed some stuff. Like, he moved the chains on this. What a great block. Or give me somebody that could be a person that we may not really think of right now, especially because we haven't seen a lot of those guys in preseason, but somebody that could make some sort of difference in the outcome of this game besides the regular names.
All right, so I'm going to leave out kind of the obvious one in Deshaun Watson, right? So defensively, I think JOK and Dalvin Tomlinson are going to be very important to this game because they need to be able to stop the run, force Dallas to be able to throw. I think they're going to test Martin Emerson. I think they're going to try to get CD on Martin Emerson, and they're going to test him. If Martin holds up, I think we're going to be in for a really good day, especially if he holds up early. If Martin doesn't, then we're going to be in for a long day. I don't know if they're going to try to do the same thing with Greg, because that'll be a little bit different. Greg does play the slot, but I think the Browns going to avoid putting Greg in the slot in this one, put him outside, and have Denzel follow him from strong to slot. So I think they're going to be like, okay, if we can't shake Denzel Ward that way, we'll adjust and we'll take what you're going to leave us with Martin Emerson on him, and we're going to try to attack that. And teams have tried to do that before, and it's been the difference in the defensive performance when Martin holds up versus when Martin doesn't. So I think that's going to be a huge part of this game. Offensively, I think David Njoku's going to be the biggest linchpin in this game where it comes to turning the tide. Will he be able to get underneath and do the bull in China shop stuff that he was able to do when he sees the coverages that he's going to see? I think that's going to be a huge factor in this game and what the Browns are going to be relying on. They don't have Nick Chubb in, Deontay Foreman and Jerome Ford. We know they're not great 1st and 10 options. So I think they're going to use David Njoku to supplement some of that getting ahead of the sticks stuff. And if the Browns are able to get ahead of the sticks, and the one thing I always will give Kevin Stefanski credit for, when he gets ahead of the sticks, that offense cooks, right? Like when they stay free of penalty and they get ahead of the sticks and they can be on time, the Browns could be out there for 9 minutes and score. They could be out there for 4 minutes and score. That offense is good when they can do that. And I think that's going to be a huge part of their plan to stay ahead of the sticks, is getting that ball to David Njoku early and often. It'll be interesting to see if Dallas has a counter to that. Their linebackers don't really feel like they're equipped to do that in 2024. And if the Browns are able to kind of attack that stuff, then I think it's going to open up stuff for Jerry Jeudy over the middle of the field. Amari Cooper, they're going to play one-on-one. It depends on, like, it's going to be 50-50 whether he beats Trayvon Diggs or not in that battle. Like, it could be a bad day for Trayvon. It could be a good day for Trayvon. Right. So I'm not going to say it relies on Amari, but I think David Njoku is the one you look at. You're like, hey, we should plan for success here. And I think that's going to be a big part of their path to success.
Listen, I'll start on offense because you went where I was going to go. David Njoku, a lot of his success was the check release stuff last year with Joe Flacco. He got, he was able to provide protection, with 2 backup tackles. They would put him on different sides of the football and he would stay in and check release. And a lot of times teams left him open. We found out that David Njoku was a load to tackle in the open field. I think they still do some of that. Especially when you're dealing with Jack Conklin or Jed Wills. I think they may be a little they may be sucking wind a little bit earlier on in the game because they aren't really in football shape. I think they'll use him out, keep him in a little bit, but then check release and still do some of those things as well. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a tight end screen somewhere within the first few drives to invite the defense up to be aggressive, and then kind of check it down underneath with the screens. I think one of the big things is huge for me is Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford doesn't have to have 300 yards rushing. Jerome Ford doesn't have to have 100 yards rushing. What Jerome Ford has to do is get the yards that are available to him. If it's 3 yards, maximize that, give me the 3 yards. Because right now, I look at the defensive line in the interior, as well as the linebacker core. The Dallas Cowboys do not have what it takes to stop the run. That was where the power base of the Browns offense is, between Pochich, Teller, and Joe Boltonio. They can run the ball a little bit, and it's up to him to get the 3 or 4. And like you said, stand in front of those chains where Deshaun Watson has 3 options. I could throw the ball underneath. I could possibly take it. I could pull these screens down and scramble, get out of bounds, and extend the play. Or I can look to play make and go off schedule a little bit. If it's 2nd and 4, going off schedule ain't too bad, right? But I don't want you going off schedule at 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11 with Micah Parsons. Defensively, I think it's going to be a game where Martin Emerson is going to be a guy that's going to be a guy that they will look at. I think they'll try Greg Newsome a little bit. The safeties. I need Thornhill and Delpit, solid tacklers. No missed tackles, no run after catch. Come up, make the play. And to me, the one that is the biggest for me is Zadarius Smith. If Zadarius Smith can give me, he don't got to give me 3 sacks. If he can give me consistent pressure where it's like, oh, well, Zadarius Smith is back there too, and he's not Myles Garrett. Any other pressure besides what Myles Garrett is giving you is gravy. I think that's what transforms the Browns defense into something of a monster.
All right. I like those, G.
Well, listen, we gave you a bunch of analysis that we gave you overtime in this. Make sure y'all eat that up. Make sure you hit the like button. Comment below. What is your game plan for this game for the Cowboys? We'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. So, Quincy, with that being said, I got the Browns winning this game. You probably give your prediction later on. What I'm going to give. We saved that. Make sure you go ahead and check that out with him. With that being said, you never know where your boy G. Bush might be. Radio, television, internet. But if you want a fresh cut on sports, you know you got to come check out your boy in the barbershop. You know we always do what we do. And guess what? If you want to see me, listen for the Clippers. Have a great weekend, a holiday weekend, and go Browns.
Smell like Tresemme in there.